thank you for those who are here for our discussion on artificial intelligence today. Just so you guys know, WALL-E was released in 2008 by Pixar, showcasing what the world looks like in 2805, and has recently become the second Pixar feature film to be preserved in the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant, which, involving our current topic at this campus right now, it is pretty significant. And today we have guests here today. If you'd like to introduce yourselves, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Pablo Jimenez. I'm the president of the Innovation Club and also a worker here on campus.
Oh, and I'm Will Simcik. Is this on?
Yeah.
I'm Will Simcik. I am a biology instructor here, and we talk quite a bit about AI in my class, so I was eager to do this.
Awesome. Yeah, we just finished watching the movie WALL-E, for those who didn't know. It is set in the year 2805, and the Earth has turned into an uninhabitable wasteland due to consumerism, corporate greed, and overall just environmental neglect. But thankfully, the mega corporation by and large was able to rescue the humans and put them on a luxury airline, or space line, where they've become just dependent on robots for survival and kind of lost their need for functioning in the case, as they wait for life, a sign of life on Earth. So, Bill, WALL-E has shown us what our world could look like if we continue, our current path. But do you think we could possibly have AI or robots help out in climate change and pollution change? And what role should they play in that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. One of the points I want to make is that this is 2008, so this has been 15 years. So the question is, have we done anything in those 15 years to improve the situation? I mean, we knew about the pollution, we knew about all the dangers and the difficulties that are showing up, with climate change 15 years ago, and here we are still talking about what can we do about climate change. Just last week in Colorado, in Telluride, one of the park services had to euthanize, in other words, kill, a sick bear because its intestines were blocked up from eating garbage, basically, and its intestines were full of plastic and water bottle tops and things like that. So the point I'm making is, can AI help us to prevent or stop or reverse climate change? I think probably no, is what it comes down to. And the reason I say that is AI did not cause the climate change, we did. And at some point we're going to have to, I think, as a human species, not look to the technology to fix our mistakes, but we're going to have to make ourselves be held responsible for fixing our mistakes. That's kind of my comment on that.
No, and it's true. It kind of proved it in the movie as well. Like at the end, the captain was like, "Hey, we gotta go back. We're the ones that have to take care of this." So at the end, they are able to leave their sedentary, robotic lifestyles when they return to Earth. So how do y'all think, I'll open it up to both of you guys, how do you think we can still embrace AI while still holding our own autonomy and purpose?
So I think using it smartly or using it for our benefit is obviously a very common thing, but it's like if we are aware of how we use AI and what it can do for us, instead of just kind of using it as like a cheat tool or like using it as a way to just get out of something, is probably the proper way to use AI currently in the state that it's in. It's really more created as like a resource for us or like a tool. So if it's used more as a tool than it is as more like, let me make AI do it for me, then it can probably be used that way much better than it could be in the wrong way.
Yeah, what he said. I think he's spot on. I want to mention though one thing in the movie too. They show all of these people on this space liner, and they pick on people being overweight, and they're basically what they're saying is that if we let AI do all of our work, well, then we're going to become lazy and we're not going to do the work and we're not going to be healthy. My point is, though, what is it doing to us mentally? What I use in my class as an example is, I don't know how many of you, those of you who are here, make a list when you have things to do, but you write down to do or grocery list and things like that. And most people, when I ask my classes, why do you make lists? Their response is, so I don't forget. The problem is, I think you have to ask yourself, do we make a list so we don't forget, or is the reason we're forgetting is because we keep making the list? In other words, is the storage of phone numbers in your cell phones, I don't know how many of you can recall all of the phone numbers in your, so the unhealthy body is only part of the AI. It can produce an unhealthy mind and an ability to recall information because we don't use the brain to its full capacity because we're relying on our phones to keep track of all of this information.
Have y'all been using AI recently? And do y'all have an example that y'all been using technology in a ways?
I use it in a classroom, but like it's more so it gives me more of inspiration use of like, hey, how can I write this certain paper, or recently I'm gonna have to do a case study on like water or a movie. So it's like, can you give me top tips or ask it kind of certain guidelines, so guiding questions, so then it makes me think, but it also helps me out in the planning purpose of it, because sometimes I'm not the best planner, so it can kind of guide me and like give me bullet points to maybe go off of.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good point. Yes, I use AI, but it would be like, in a way, it's like saying to a surgeon, do you use a scalpel? And they do use scalpels, of course they do, but you don't confuse, the scalpel's not doing the surgery, it's the surgeon doing the surgery. So if you use the AI as a tool, I mean, yes, I do. In fact, just yesterday I had to have a new air conditioning put in, and the thermostat is one of these. Anyway, it monitors when you come home and when you leave and when you put the temperature up and when you put the temperature down. So it's going to go through a 1 month learning cycle where it learns our daily patterns. So yeah, I'm using AI right there, where it's learning to adjust the temperature of the house for when we're home and when we leave. But that doesn't mean that thermostat is the owner of the house. It's a tool in the house is what it is. So I think as long as we keep, like you're saying, as long as we keep AI where it belongs, on the table as a tool, we should all use it, but don't let it take over the surgery. Don't let it take control of the life.
I like that. And our protagonists for this film are two robots who have very different personalities. Eve is like very directive, focused on the mission, while Wally is more curious and creative. Do you think personality traits like that would affect AI use? Like, are you more inclined to use AI if it shows a little bit of humanity?
You go first each time, so I'll for you. One thing my comment on that is, I don't know if have you ever seen any emotion coming out of your phone? I mean, I don't know that the phone behaves differently if I feel bad or if I feel sick. So the emotion is something that is a human trait. I don't think AI it can be programmed maybe, but I don't think you're going to I don't think you'll find two machines. Like, my phone is probably not going to fall in love with your phone. And I don't think they're going to start, this relationship. So I find the emotion part of it really kind of weird. It's anthropomorphizing the robots is what it's doing. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah,
just your thoughts are fine. So.
No, I agree. The emotion thing it's weird because even humans can't control their own emotions.
That's true. Yeah.
So then if AI is a robot and they can't control, then how are we going to react if we don't know how to react ourselves?
Yeah.
So it's a really, really weird gray line there, but it's honestly like if a robot can't control themselves but a human can't do it themselves either, then it's going to fall into a weird guideline that you probably can't get back.
Marvelous. I love your introspective responses. And our last question for the day. WALL-E is considered one of the best movies to be released in 2008, of course, because of its cultural, historical significance. And it has also provoked a bunch of just thoughtful discussions like the ones we were having here on AI. in our society as well. But what would be like your biggest takeaway from the film?
I'd say don't put your full trust in AI, and because AI is still being developed, and here even in the movie, it's fairly new to the people itself. They're just relying, everything was on AI, and clearly the point was to show that like AI can't do everything for you, and ultimately you're gonna have to do something for yourself and make a decision for yourself. And it built up to that. Obviously now they made a decision, we're gonna come home and we're gonna do everything ourselves. So I mean, if you rely on AI too much, you're gonna lose focus, and it won't help you out in the benefit. Use it for your benefit and not as a just yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I guess my takeaway is very similar to yours, but I was thinking more about how we're trying to rely on machines, artificial intelligence, and computers to fix the things that we're screwing up, basically. And so the issue that I worry about is, I think at some point we have to create a culture where the people take the responsibility and not try to look for a situation where, oh, we have to invent a new technology, we need a new chemical, we need a new plastic, we need a new this, and we're refusing to change our behaviors. So again, I go back to, look what we did to the planet in the movie, and here we are 15 years later, and we're still worried about the exact same thing happening. And the question is, how much damage has to be done before we actually change ourselves? Not new technology, not new artificial intelligence, but how long before we become like the captain and we take charge of what's going on and try to put a stop to it?
Thank you very much for joining us into this discussion. Does the audience have any other thoughts, comments, or concerns?
You said it's like would require more of a cultural shift for humanity to kind of take charge of where climate change is going. Do you think it's solely on like kind of the cultural or community aspect, or is there like some business incentives too to like, instead push for technology so that maybe you can find a cheaper, more cost-effective solution?
I think absolutely. If I understand the question, I think the technology can be used to build more efficient and less wasteful products, so that we can start, eliminating or reducing some of this climate damage that we're creating. I think you have a good point. I think you're right about that. But I'm not sure we're using it for that, because we end up in a profit-driven society where sometimes the most efficient car, for instance, look at electric cars. I mean, I've seen reports that there are 3 times the amount of pollution produced in the production of one electric car than there would be in what a typical petroleum burning car will produce over several months or years. So the point I'm getting at is, while we focus on the technology being able to help improve the climate change situation, the question becomes, how much damage is the development of that new technology causing? And pretty soon we're chasing our tail, is what I get worried about.
No, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a comment here. I agree with everything that was said there. But I'm afraid that at some point we're going to lose control. I mean, first of all, who controls AI? Who is programming AI? And I've read somewhere that it's going to get to a point where AI is going to generate its own programs. And then who's going to control that? So I agree with Dr. Simcik there that it's up to us to control what we're doing and all the disastrous things that we've been going through. But then on the other hand, there are people who came up with AI, and I don't know how much control we have on them. And if we let AI to go rogue, who's going to control that?
Thank you, Dr. Hatch. I think what I wanted to comment is, just a few months ago, There was a military simulation where they had a drone, and it was a simulation, so this was not actually happening, but they had a drone and they set it to attack a target in another country. Again, it's a simulation. And the drone was on its path, following its program to attack that target. And the operator of that drone sent a message to cancel the mission and return home. The drone, this was reported, I mean, this was in the news, and this was a military laboratory where this happened. The drone returned armed and was beginning to shoot at the operator for attempting to interfere with its mission. And so what they did is they found in the AI programming, if you're not careful, they'll do just that. It'll turn on the operator if you want to turn it off, is the issue. So yeah, controlling the AI and controlling the people who control the AI becomes a whole nother complication in the process.
Any last, another one?
Fine.
Of course.
Also, we're hearing a lot of stories about AI and the power to impersonate people. I mean, it takes 3 seconds for AI to get your voice and your image and then start pretending that it's you. Now, what's going to happen if this is, again, goes out of control, and then you're going to have all these issues? Who is going to control that? And how are we going to function if we have such power out there that is going to control your behavior, your bank account, where you go, and everything in your life? I mean, then you have to follow certain rules.
You know, I would comment, I think where we're at now is we don't have the legal system to address it. I think we're going to have to develop laws to put it under control and to put limits. And I can give you a separate example from AI, and I'll keep it really short. But the example is that just a few months ago now, I used this in my class, actually about 6 months ago now. There was a woman driving on the HOV lane, the high occupancy vehicle lane, and she got stopped because she was the only one in the car. And she was given a ticket, and she argued because she was pregnant, there were 2 people in the car. And the police officer gave her the ticket, she went to court, she had to pay the ticket. So what I'm getting at is our legal system is not prepared to deal with these issues, because when you go into the pro-life, pro-choice, and the abortion issues, an unborn child is a person. But if you go on the HOV lane, it's not a person. So at some point, the legal world is going to have to play catch-up to the, in this case, artificial intelligence.
And I think it's happening right now. I think there's like a bunch of lawsuits, or they're trying to get some policies set up, especially for like data collection or data mining, collecting data on people and just keeping it and using it in order to market off whatever it is that they want to market.
I think that's what he's talking about,
Yeah.
too.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to echo this, and I'm sure maybe a lot of people are going to disagree with it, but I believe that AI, I'm going to give it another title, it's a global enslavement project. It is a global enslavement project, because it's going to get to a point that there's going to be control over our life, and we're going to have difficulties. But that might be a pessimistic view. I understand, but that's my opinion.
No, thank you. And that will conclude our session, so we don't run a little too much over. If you liked this session, we will have our next one on October 17th. We'll be watching iRobot. We'll be celebrating its 20th year release anniversary, so that'll be nice to see. If you are a student, you can use the QR code to kind of give us feedback, get some extra credit in your class, and if you haven't yet, scan your ID at the front so we can capture the data.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming.